Lorena walked along the busy street of the city. Cars were bustling to her right and people strolled casually on the sidewalk ahead. The evening was setting in, and the street lights had already come on. Lorena, not in a hurry, glanced at the shop windows, looked up at the signs, giving the impression that she was leisurely exploring the city. In reality, Lena was looking for a job. She had moved here with her children a couple of months ago to be with her husband, with whom they had lived for almost 5 years. The head of the family had changed jobs, and at a family meeting, it was decided that the children should attend the local schools. This was especially relevant as it was time for Barry to think about his future profession. Monica, on the other hand, had just completed the 4th grade. Barry started school in the village in the elementary school in Orlando. There were 12 students aged 7 to 10, and Barry was the only 6-year-old when he joined. Village residents were not eager to send their children to school early, as a normal village boy at 5 to 6 years old could already herd goats in the yard and take care of chickens, not to mention bringing lunch to his father or mother in the field. Just when a boy could be trusted with more serious farm chores, schools suddenly took him away. Many didn't like it and tried to delay sending their boys to school. Some started 1st grade at 7, some at 6, and some managed to keep them at home until the age of 9. "What's the rush?" villagers would say. "He'll finish school, now go straight to the army, come back, and there you have capable hands for harvesting and spring plowing." Lorena's husband, Jackie, tried to convince her to follow the same path, saying, "I grew up that way, let our son follow in his father's footsteps." She vehemently opposed. So 6-year-old Barry stood in the front row at his first school event. When the first school bell rang for him, he handed over the heavy gladioli to his first teacher, the elderly Mrs. Hughes, who had lived her whole life in Orlando and had also taught Lorena. Then, proud in his new school uniform with a red backpack, Barry confidently walked into the classroom, holding hands with his best friend from the neighboring street. Jackie stood by the school fence with 2-year-old Monica in his arms, while Lena quietly wiped away tears. 20 years ago, she stood on the threshold of this school in a blue dress and a lace-trimmed white apron with wings, a dress her mother bought for her in honor of September 1st. That's when the happiest time of her childhood began. Lorena liked literally everything about school. Mrs. Hughes, then young and kinder than her mother, was a very good teacher. Lunches in the cafeteria, where Aunt Naomi served still warm rolls, pouring hot borscht from a large pot and offering a glass of dried fruit compote. New freshly painted desks with a folding part, maps on the classroom walls, and books on the shelves. Lorena was ready to stay in school until late in the evening, but her mother picked her up around 3 to 4 o'clock and took her home. "Daughter, wash the dishes and sweep the floor," her mother would immediately instruct. Then, as she got older, Lena began to be cunning. She claimed she had already done all her homework at school. Then her mother would come up with another household task for her. As she grew older, the girl started to deceive. She pretended to be doing homework while reading books or looking at encyclopedias. Lorena's least favorite time was summer. City kids came to the village to spend time with their grandparents. They swam in the river, ran in a pack through the streets, rode on a creaky bicycle with a crooked front wheel. For the girl, summer vacation started at 5 o'clock in the morning when she had to let the goat Anna graze, then engage in cleaning the chicken coop and feeding the birds. After that, her mother called her for breakfast, and then they went to the garden where they worked practically without rest until the evening twilight with a short break for lunch. Lorena weeded peas, hoed tomatoes, sprayed cucumbers, and constantly tied, dug, or harvested something. By 11 at night, Lena crawled into bed, only to get up again at 5 in the morning. Meanwhile, the boys went fishing in the river, bringing back various fish. Then they fried them on a makeshift grill on a sheet of iron, baked potatoes in the coals, and sat nearby on a fallen log, enjoying the prepared dish. How she envied them, how she dreamed of escaping from home and catching frogs or simply splashing in the cool water and then warming up on the warm sand. She managed to do it 2 or 3 times throughout the whole summer. In good weather, they had to work in the garden, and in bad weather, she didn't feel like swimming. Lorena eagerly awaited school as her heavenly release from the tiresome household chores. Sometimes Mrs. Hughes's school class would go to the nearest forest to collect flowers for a herbarium. During such walks, Lorena realized that she enjoyed studying plants, distinguishing one from another, marking the places where they grew. As she grew older, Lena wanted to become a botanist. However, her mother did not approve of this idea. There was no time to study for exams. By graduation, Lorena's mother worked and left the garden and bird care to her daughter. After completing 8 grades, Lorena was sent to accounting courses by her mother. After that, Lorena got a job as a cashier in a local store. "Lorena, hasn't the fresh bread arrived yet?" Grandma Olivia would ask, coming to the store's opening at 9 in the morning. "Grandma Olivia, you know they will deliver the bread by 11, the girl replied. "Oh, who brings fresh bread by lunchtime?" The old lady shook her head and sat on the bench near the entrance. Then her 2 friends joined her. Together they waited for the bread delivery every day from 9 a.m., sitting on the bench. They also shared news about how each other slept and what happened. "Oh, why did Mr. Mitchell's dog bark so much at night?" "I don't know. Maybe it smelled a fox or maybe a hare. My head hurts after it's barking in the morning." "Why don't you eat leek? It'll make you feel better. Last year, it quickly cured my sciatica with a compress soaked in moonshine." Caroline's lover came to her yesterday. "Are you spying on her, or what?" "I went outside, saw someone moving under the window, and there's Carolina in the window. They saw me, got scared, and turned off the lights in the house." "Oh, come on, Carolina is a human too. Why should she live without a man?" "That's what I'm saying. It's time to settle down, but she keeps making eyes at someone." Then the bread delivery truck arrived. The grandmothers cleared half of the van and went to their homes. Lorena understood that they ate the bread themselves, dried the crusts for the winter, and mixed them into pig feed. So, they took a lot at once, and in winter, the crusts would come in handy when the roads were blocked by snowdrifts. No truck would reach Orlando. That meant until the tractor cleared the roads, all the villagers would be without bread. That's when the crusts would be useful, both with borscht and with tea. Of course, in the past, grandmothers used to bake bread in their own ovens in winter, but lately, flour and yeast had become so expensive that it was easier to eat crusts for a week and then come for a white loaf and a loaf of brown bread. Besides, they saved firewood for the winter. They should last until the end of the spring thaw. Lena was aware of all the latest gossip in the village. The old ladies sat by the open window, and when it got cold, everyone moved inside the store. According to village tradition, they greeted everyone who entered and passed by. After which, the gossip began. However, Grandma Olivia and her friends gossiped harmlessly and good-naturedly. But Carolina was different. She ran into Lena's store to her replacement, Lissa, and whispered with her in the corner for a long time. They both giggled and glanced at Lena. From these looks, Lorena always felt uncomfortable. And when they started teasing, "Well, Lorena, when will you introduce us to your man?" "I don't have a man." "How can such a beautiful girl not have a fiancé? Look what a quiet girl. Everything seems smooth now, but later you'll bring a child to your mother in your apron. You better watch your tongue, and Jackie, I'll manage my own life, don't need your kindness, I have plenty of it myself, barely coping, that's it, Lissa, take over the cash register, I'm leaving." Jackie was Carolina's brother and Lissa's husband. He was also known throughout the neighborhood as a great auto mechanic who could fix any mechanism from a coffee grinder to a combined crankshaft. Moreover, he was a handsome man, tall, strong, with deep black eyes. All the young girls flirted with him, and children circled around when he helped them with a bicycle or went to the store. In addition, Jackie was a quiet and calm guy, which more than compensated for the characters of his 2 women, sister and wife. Neighbors occasionally heard outraged screams from Jackie's house, the sound of broken dishes, and then his quiet words of condemnation and the female sobs of Lissa. Villagers felt sorry for Lissa. "She's a good-for-nothing. Look, They've been living with Jackie for over 5 years and still no kids. That's why they argue, and Jackie will find someone younger, smarter, and run away from her to escape the scandals, to have children and take care of them. Lena, in her youth, didn't believe that Lissa and Jackie's marriage could break up due to the absence of children, more likely because of Lissa's scandals, she thought. However, despite his wife's screams after each working day, Jackie would come to Lorena's store for a shift and buy candies and fresh pastries for Lissa and occasionally a jar of beer, or more often, a bottle of fresh lemonade for himself. Lissa always boasted that she had cast a spell on Jackie and he wouldn't go anywhere. I gave him tea with the right herbs to drink. After that, he looks at me as if I were a goddess. He doesn't see any other woman in the village. They believed it. Jackie really followed his wife like a calf and indulged her in everything, took her to the city, did repairs in the house. Rumor had it that he even cooked often himself, as lazy as Lissa was, despite being as beautiful as she was. However, Jackie always called his wife my queen and a little star, walked hand in hand with her, and helped with work in the garden and preparations for winter. Golden guy, Grandma Olivia nodded, and such a debauched girl got him, and childless too. On weekends, Lissa would go to the city. Sometimes she had urgent matters there, and would ask to switch shifts. She claimed she was going to the doctor or buying medicine. She went for gifts before the holidays. She has someone in the city, 100%, Grandma Olivia told her friends. She always comes back from there so happy, glowing, probably going to a lover, and then Jackie is led by the nose. Why are you so mean, Lena? Sometimes reproached the gossipers. Maybe Lissa is being treated for infertility and will soon be able to conceive Jackie's child. Oh, you naive, Lena, the grandmothers shook their heads. How can that be? While other men think their wives are being treated, Jackie stands aside, only to raise children from other men later. Lena didn't believe the malicious rumors. Why shouldn't Lissa be happy if every time she returned from the city with Jackie, rarely he would meet her at the train station in his car? After such trips, there would be silence and tranquility in the house for several days. The couple walked hand in hand and cherished each other in the street. How shameless of them, the old lady said. That time, Lorena came to work an hour before the store opened. A new batch of groceries and essential goods was expected. The driver arrived, unfamiliar, unloaded everything in the sales area, and left. Lorena stood amidst the goods and didn't know what to do with them. The previous driver, Uncle Irvin, knowing they didn't have loaders, always agreed to carry the boxes into the utility room, but this driver refused to help. I'm not a loader, here's the invoice, sign it. He handed her the paper. Lena counted the goods, put her signature, and he left. The girl began to slowly move the goods herself. Jackie looked in through the window, then knocked. Lorena opened it. Wow, he whistled, looking at the unloaded boxes. Looks like the driver left too quickly, didn't help. Is he new? Lorena shrugged. It's the first time for me that the goods are left in the sales area. Well, let me help you now. Jackie took off his jacket. There's time. And the man started carrying the boxes into the utility room. Lorena cleared him a path and showed where to put them. Meanwhile, Lena recorded the location of the delivered goods in a large notebook so that Lissa could find them on her shift. After placing the last box, Jackie went to the restroom to wash his hands. Lena stood in the aisle and didn't notice him approaching. Jackie took her by the shoulders. Lorena turned around in fear. Why are you scared? The man said. It's me. Lorena smiled at him and tried to step aside to let him pass, but he turned the girl to face him and suddenly showered her with kisses, forehead, cheeks, lips. She caught her breath. Lena loved the smell of his sweat, the strong hands holding her shoulders, the closeness of his male body. She tried to push him away. What are you doing, silly? Jackie whispered lovingly into Lena's ear. I love you, beauty. I won't hurt you. It will be good, I promise. And from those words, a sweet sensation surged in Lena's lower abdomen. Her hands weakened, she stopped resisting and responded to the kiss. Jackie pressed her against the wall, opened her robe, and lowered his pants. Lorena didn't see any of it. She felt his soft palms on her chest, then on her stomach, and then his fingers reached even lower. Something hot and hard was near her privates. The girl burned with desire. When Jackie ended up inside her, it seemed her body itself knew what to do. The man lifted Lena and pressed even harder, sharing a part of himself with her young body. With a groan, when he let go of Lena, tears were in her eyes. "Did it hurt you?" he asked. "Why are you crying?" "It has never been so good for me," the girl whispered, embracing him around the neck and pressing her lips to his. Throughout the shift, Lorena floated on air and waited for Jackie to return from work. He came, greeted her as if nothing had happened, bought himself a beer and his wife pastries before leaving the store. Tears welled up in the girl's eyes. "He didn't even look at me, used me, and abandoned me. I'm truly a foolish idiot," she thought, continuing to serve the villagers. The next morning, Jackie came right after she opened the utility room. He looked at her with eyes of delight and admiration. Lena rushed into his arms. "Why were you so cold yesterday evening?" she asked, kissing him. "Why didn't you even smile at me with your eyes?" They sat on the standing boxes. Lorena again experienced sweet pleasure and afterward sat for a few minutes in Jackie's arms. "Beloved," he whispered to her, "I'm married. If someone sees us, rumors will spread, and Lissa will definitely find out." "Lissa will find out anyway," Lena said. "She's a witch, and now I don't know how to communicate with her. You only see her during the shift, and I'm at home every day, so she'll suspect me sooner than you. Don't worry, my sunshine. I'll file for divorce soon, and we'll be together." Lena really wanted to believe her beloved's words. She started watching tearful melodramas and always compared the main character to Jackie. "No, he's not like that," she thought, "and if he promised to divorce and marry me, then it will happen." In 6 months of such meetings with Jackie, his relationship with his wife did not change. He still bought her something tasty after work, ignoring Lorena, and in the morning, burning with desire, he loved the girl in the utility room, leaving through the second door before the store opened. Lissa continued going to the city, and then she and Jackie paraded through the village, kissing in front of everyone. Only Lorena tried not to see them at that moment so that her heart wouldn't ache as much. One weekend, while organizing the closet, sanitary pads fell out. It was then that Lena realized she hadn't used them in a long time. She grew cold and sat on the couch, trying to remember when her last menstrual cycle was. Panic overwhelmed her. What to do? Confess to her mother? Have an abortion? Soon the whole village would know she was pregnant. Lena decided to talk to Jackie first. During their next meeting, she didn't experience the same bliss as before, and his kisses seemed less passionate. So Jackie asked her, "You're not as fiery today. Did something happen?" Lorena tried to hold back her emotions and said, "I'm pregnant," and tears burst out. "How? From whom?" Jackie suddenly asked a foolish question. "Jackie, you're my only one, from you. Our child." "Lorena, you must be confused. I can't have children." "Are you sure you're pregnant?" "I haven't had my period for 3 months, and my breasts are getting bigger. My mother will see soon." "Did you take a test? Maybe it's something else." "What else could it be?" Lorena shrugged. "Our child is conceived. I need to tell my mother and consider an abortion." "Wait," said the man. "Lorena, are you absolutely sure you haven't been with anyone else? You know that. What are you thinking? Do you consider me a prostitute? You're my first and only man. I haven't been with anyone else." "Okay then, let's meet tomorrow morning, and I'll figure something out." "Agreed? Where will we meet?" "Tomorrow is your wife's shift." "Oh, right. Can you come to the city? I'll meet you at the train station in the morning." Lorena sat in Jackie's car. He leaned in to kiss her, but she pushed him away. "Haven't you seen a doctor yet?" he asked. "No, of course not." "What doctor?" "Well, let's go." Jackie brought her to a clinic where Lorena had her blood tested and underwent a gynecological examination. "Congratulations, dear, you're pregnant," the doctor told her. "We'll register you. You need to come in once a month for tests. You're currently at 10 weeks. What about an abortion?" Lorena asked, barely audible. "Abortion?" The gynecologist was surprised. "Well, dear, in that case, you have a maximum of a week and a half. We don't perform abortions after 12 weeks. Tomorrow your test results will be in. Come and tell me your decision, okay?" Lorena replied quietly and left the room. Jackie was waiting for her in the corridor. "So, what?" "10 weeks, the doctor said. Come tomorrow for test results and discuss whether I'll have an abortion or not." "What abortion? Have you gone crazy?" "Jackie, what should I do? I'll be walking around the village with a big belly. Everyone will point fingers at me saying I got pregnant without a husband, and my mother will interrogate me about the father. What should I say?" "Say it's me, the father." Jackie left his belongings and knocked on the door after the doctor. Jackie led Lena to the procedure room again. There, he handed the nurse a referral. She took another blood sample from the girl. Jackie lingered with the nurse. "There won't be any abortion," he said when he came out. "Understood. I'll acknowledge the child and raise it. But what about Lissa?" "What about Lissa? She can't give me a child, and you can." Although she kept insisting that I'm infertile, so the child won't be without a father. So Lissa will live with her rumors and gossip about me. We'll see who survives. Jackie drove Lorena back to the train station. "You've gained weight or something," he said. Lorena's mother looked suspiciously at her daughter. "Look, your bra is showing. Must be eating a lot, huh? Come on, walk around the room." Lorena walked from corner to corner. "Aren't you pregnant, girl? From whom is the child? And you look so modest. Oh my, who's that scoundrel? Oh, I'll expose him on the nearest aspen if he refuses to marry you." "He can't, Mom. Why suddenly?" "I'll make him do everything right, Mom. He's married, and you couldn't find an unmarried boy? You set your eyes on a married man. Well, who is he, your sweetheart? I'll drag him out from under the ground." "Your cable guy?" "No, Mom, I wanted it myself." "What did you want? To bring me a child from a married man? You've completely lost your mind, girl. What's his name? How do you contact him?" "Mom, he disappeared. I don't know where to find him. As soon as he found out about the child, he disappeared, and it's too late for an abortion." "What? Abortion?" "No, abortion. I don't care about all the condemnation. We'll give birth and raise it ourselves." Her mother was truly upset. "You're such a naive fool. He probably fed you promises and swore eternal love." "He did, Mom, and promised to divorce and marry me." "Yes, and you believed him? Well, walk proudly with your head held high, then the dirt will fly away from you." "Understood. Many here can't get pregnant at all. Take Lissa, for example, and you, not even 20 yet, are full of love." After the visit to the doctor, Jackie disappeared for almost 2 weeks. Lorena saw them with Lissa through the window. They would occasionally leave together and then return during the next shift. Lissa said to Lorena, "Friend, you'll have to find another partner soon." "Why?" Lorena asked, growing cold, afraid that they might leave the village altogether. "I'm leaving for the city in about 3 months. I'll give birth there. I don't want to stand behind the counter here, pregnant," Lissa explained. The ground seemed to vanish beneath Lorena. So, he loved her too, and he made her pregnant. And here I believed he loved only me. Truly a fool. I thought he would leave Lissa for me after being together for so many years. In the evening, Lena cried at home. Her mother approached her. "You shouldn't be upset in your condition. Come on, confess, what happened? Why such suffering?" Through sobs, Lorena confessed her love for Jackie to her mother and that he was the father of her child. Lissa told me she's pregnant too and plans to go to the city to give birth, she said through tears. So she can't work behind the counter while pregnant, but I can. And where did that scoundrel seduce you? In the utility room? First, I helped carry some boxes, and then he hugged me, and I couldn't resist. And what? You got pregnant right away? We were together for 6 months, Lorena said tearfully. For 6 months, and you didn't use protection? How could I do that in the utility room? He was right there. I couldn't stop myself. Oh, my naive one, her mother embraced her head. Well, at least it's easier for me. I'll deal with Jackie. Lorena, why did your mother go to Lissa? Grandma Olivia asked through the window when Lena was behind the counter. I don't know, the girl shrugged. Maybe there's something she needs. What does she need from that witch? Some love potion, perhaps? Grandma Olivia. Just go see for yourself. You see, I have customers. All right, get back to work. Lorena nervously counted the change, thinking about the conversation happening at Jackie's house at that moment. Carolina rushed into the store. Hey, Carolina, where's your friend Lissa? In the city, at the doctor. Is she sick? God forbid, Grandma Olivia. She and Jackie are expecting a baby. That's why she went for a checkup. A baby? Lissa? Now that's news. Jackie finally opened the box. Good for him. I thought nothing would work out for them. It worked out for Lissa. You call her a witch, but she can do whatever she wants with magic for creating a baby. You don't need magic, the old lady chuckled. Jackie sat on the couch, eating sunflower seeds in front of the TV, when Lorena's mother stormed into the house. Ah, there you are, you seducer. You think you seduced my girl, and now you'll live peacefully? I'll disgrace you so much that you won't set foot in this village again. Understood, Olivia? Right, calm down. Don't calm me down. You should have thought about it before you put your hands under my innocent daughter's skirt. Where's your Lissa? I'll tell her everything about you, the fancy locksmith and charmer. Olivia, there's no wife, she's in the city. I'll go for her in the evening. Sit down, let's talk calmly. And where was your calmness when you were bothering Lena in the utility room and made her pregnant? I love your daughter, and I couldn't stop myself. I thought I would divorce Lissa, marry Lena, and raise the child together. A child? Interesting. You tell tales so well. And why haven't you divorced then, fell out of love and changed your mind? Now Lissa is pregnant too. I can't divorce her now, and she's pregnant from whom? Also from you, of course. She's my wife. So, you slept with both my girls and didn't mind being a husband? Olivia, right, mind your language. Don't slander Lissa. She may have a temper, but she didn't give me any reason to doubt her fidelity. But did Lena give it? The whole village knows about your Lissa, that she runs to men in the city. That's where you should do the test, not with my Lena. Enough, Olivia, right. If you weren't the mother of my beloved girl, I would throw you out of the house. So please leave peacefully. I'll leave, but if you don't keep your promises, you will run out of the village with your tail between your legs. Understood, Olivia? Wright slammed the door with force. Jackie stared at the screen. So she goes to other men in the city. Oh, you women, why are you such gossips, spreading rumors about a person just like that? Lissa didn't give me any reason to doubt. I'm sure the child is mine. I won't even bother with a test. The next shift, he shared the information at work with his colleagues. Lissa, my wife, is pregnant. I'll have to take her to the city in a couple of months. So don't be mad, guys, if I'm absent for a while. Pregnant, you say? But you claimed you couldn't have children. How did this happen? Or is it not yours? No, it's my child and Lissa's. It seems I can have children after all. Jackie knew for sure that he could have children, but he couldn't bring up this argument in the collective. No one knew about Lena, and he hoped they wouldn't find out until the last moment. Why haven't there been children for so long? You've been married for almost 7 years, right? A colleague asked. Yes, almost 7. It didn't work out before, we were gathering strength, Jackie replied. Well, that's good. Now they'll come one after another. Let's see about that, even 2 at the same time, Jackie thought to himself. I would still check the tests, said the team leader thoughtfully. Maybe the doctors made a mistake in declaring you incapable of having children. Indeed, why? Jackie suddenly wondered. For 7 years we had no one, and Lisa checked all the tests and reassured me, saying not to worry, everything will work out somehow. And now it has. We should check. While waiting for his pregnant wife, Jackie decided to visit the clinic and take the test. A week later, Jackie was at the doctor's appointment. Who told you that you are infertile? Everything is fine with you, no signs of any issues, the doctor informed. But I was told before, Jackie said. Who told you? Well, I took tests, and my wife, Jackie answered. Then she went to the doctor, and he told her that we couldn't have children because there was something wrong with my health. Everything is normal with you, I repeat once again. But why didn't I have children for so long? Ask your wife about that. There can be individual incompatibility, or maybe she was using contraception and didn't want children. Haven't you discussed this with her? No. Well, sit down calmly and talk. And if there are any doubts, take the test. It will show both pathologies and determine paternity. I have no doubt about my wife, Jackie replied. But you shouldn't be so sure. As a doctor, I would like to tell you that you should doubt everything and everyone, even yourself. So, take the test. It won't hurt. On the way home, Jackie told Lisa about the test that can detect prenatal pathologies. We need a healthy baby. We've waited for this for so long. Let's take this test, he suggested. Lisa agreed. It was important for her to know about the absence of hereditary diseases in the future baby. 2 weeks later, when his wife had a shift at the store, Jackie went to the city to pick up the results. The doctor opened the envelope in front of him and looked at the man. No pathologies found in the baby, he began. That's great, doctor. Thank you for the advice. That's not all. No pathologies, but you are not the father of this child. How is that, doctor? Maybe these are not our tests, or there is some mistake. This test doesn't make mistakes. If it confirms the lack of relationship, it's a 100% result. It can't be. Whose child is it, then? Ask your wife about that. Here are your tests. Show them to her. Goodbye. So, Olivia Wright was right, and everyone in the village knows except me? No, it can't be. Surely, Lisa will explain everything as soon as I show her the tests. His wife sat on the couch, covering her face with her hands. Lisa, can you explain to me whose child it is? Jackie asked her for the umpteenth time. He entered the house and laid the test results in front of her. He hoped that Lisa would be indignant, scream, break dishes, curse negligent doctors and nurses who can't work, and cast doubt on her husband's fidelity. But Lisa quietly sat on the couch and covered her face with her hands. She sat like that for about 15 minutes, which convinced Jackie of her infidelity. You don't know him, she said softly. We met in the city. He courted so beautifully, gave gifts, carried me in his arms. There, I was a princess. I didn't have to work. We went to restaurants, he bought me beautiful things. And then I returned here, she glanced at their house, to this village, with a smelly house and rustic inhabitants. I want to live that life, not this one. And where is all of that? Jackie asked. What do you mean, all the gifts, the things, he gave? Lisa replied, there, in the city. He rented an apartment for us there. I come there as if it's home. And here? And here I am in prison, on hard labor, call it what you want. And this is his child? Yes. Why did you deceive me? Why didn't you go to him immediately, to your paradise? I couldn't. He is married and could only offer me the role of a mistress. Here, I am a wife and a respected person. Why did you think I would raise his child? I thought you would be happy. You wanted children, and here it is. But it's not my child. You could have not known about it if not for this stupid test, Lissa replied. Then tell me one more thing. Why didn't you get pregnant with me for these years? At first, it didn't work out, and then I met him, and I only wanted his child, not yours. I used contraceptives with you, but not with him. At first, I used contraceptives with him too, but then I thought that if I have his child, he will leave his family for me. But he didn't leave, Jackie asked. No. And then you remembered me as a backup plan? Who is she? I'll pull out her hair. You released me the moment you started cheating on me. I'm not your thing to be disposed of as you wish. I'm not your toy. So, we'll still get divorced, whether you like it or not. Then I'll do it through the court, claim your property, and drag out the process so that your future wife is disgraced, pregnant, and without a husband. And won't they disgrace you? I am already married, Lissa replied. You won't be able to stay with me in half a year or a year. I still won't acknowledge your child, and I'll divorce you. The sooner you realize this, the easier it will be for you to build your life after the divorce. You won't get rid of me that easily. Just know that, Lissa exclaimed. Too bad. I thought we could part ways peacefully. On the contrary, Jackie replied, with each of your words, I am convinced that I know you too well. From now on, I'll sleep in the workshop until the divorce, and then you can sleep wherever and with whomever you want, just not in this house. Jackie demonstratively took a pillow and blanket from the marital bed and went to the workshop. By the 6th month, Lissa's belly was impossible to conceal with clothes. Judgment spread throughout the village. Olivia Wright told everyone that the groom was far away, and the couple would marry immediately upon his arrival. Everyone nodded in agreement, but whispered among themselves that Lorena probably got herself pregnant with someone from the city. After half a month, Lissa's condition became visible. Villagers joked that maybe there was something special about the job at the store since all the girls working there got pregnant, and they even started recommending the place to acquaintances as a cure for infertility. Only 2 saleswomen practically did not communicate with each other. Lissa was afraid that the truth about her divorce from Jackie would come out, and Lena was very embarrassed about her pregnancy in front of Lissa. Jackie disappeared at work and in court, where he proved his wife's infidelity, bringing doctors and paternity test results as witnesses. People tried to convince him to wait another half month or a month. Lissa appeared at the hearings, deliberately highlighting her belly and talking about her difficult life. When they finally got divorced, Jackie and Lena, under the supervision of Olivia Wright, went to the city to file for marriage. Mother's supervision was needed because Lorena was about to give birth, and it happened right after the visit to the registry office. Lorena had been feeling contractions since morning, but she was afraid that if she told her mom and Jackie the planned trip would be canceled, and her hope for marriage would be ruined. So she kept silent until the last moment. However, when the application was accepted at the registry office, she straightened her lower back with a groan, then curled up and quietly said, "It seems to have started." They went to the maternity hospital 2 hours later. Lena became the mother of a boy 52 centimeters tall, weighing 3 kilograms. She informed Olivia Wright, who then conveyed the news to Jackie. Since everyone was busy with unpleasant matters and solving numerous problems before the birth, the parents hadn't decided on a name for the child. So for 4 days, until Lorena's discharge, the son was simply called its son, and they started discussing names only when Jackie brought his future wife with the child to his home. "Look, I did some repairs here," bragged the father, and even prepared a room for Carrie. "For which Carrie?" Lorena asked in surprise. "For our son." "No, I won't let him be named Carrie." "Why?" "It's a good name." Carrie Thompson sounds beautiful, isn't it? Strange that half of the village has that name, each with their own quirk. No, we need to come up with another name. Then let's name him Zach. Sure, because the second half of the village is named that way, right, Lorena? But I don't know, what name do you want, KBY? I really like that name, KBY. I don't know, it doesn't sound very good to me. Then not Colby, but Barry. Yes, I like that. And tall and handsome he was born. Let it be Barry Thompson. There was no wedding for the young couple. They arrived in the city on the appointed day after the registration. Jackie took his young wife with the son and mother-in-law home. It was time to feed the baby. The whole village was talking about Jackie's quick change of wives. Amazing, he kicked out one pregnant woman and took in another. How much he must have loved to take her in during childbirth. Why did he kick out Lisa? Because he himself put his wife in such a position during childbirth. After the divorce, Lisa didn't show up in the village. Lena sometimes tried to talk to her and her child with Jackie, but he always avoided the conversation. He is not my child. I don't want to know her, that's all she managed to get out of him. Once, in Jackie's absence, Carolina came. Well, homewrecker, you got what you wanted, destroyed someone else's family because of you, she said. Where is she now, wandering? So know that you won't build happiness on someone else's misfortune. Jackie is not essentially yours. Lena was so embarrassed that she couldn't find anything to say. Olivia Wright helped her daughter, showing her how to take care of the baby, telling her when to bathe him, what to feed him. Jackie took all the housework upon himself. He brought groceries, medicines, did cleaning, and cooked lunches. In addition, he helped with Olivia Wright's household chores. He brought food for the chickens, dug the beds, fixed plumbing and furniture in the house. Barry slept poorly, and Lorena became very thin and tired. Sometimes, Olivia Wright came to sit with her grandson for a couple of hours so that Lorena could get some rest. The love between Lorena and Jackie was evident, even the malicious tongues in the village fell silent. The young parents walked with a stroller along the central street, greeted the villagers. Later, when Barry grew up a bit, Jackie carried him in his arms, and when he put him down, Lorena took her son's hand. The little boy grew up cheerful and cute. He's just like his father, smiled the acquaintances. Olivia Wright reconciled with her son-in-law and occasionally visited. More often, the children with the grandson came to her. Barry chased after the chickens and tore everything that grew in the garden. Lorena thought that if she did the same, her mother would scold her. But Olivia Wright allowed a lot for her grandson. Only Carolina, Jackie's sister, never came to visit them. From conversations with her husband, Lorena knew that he sometimes visited the shared house where the lonely sister now lived. However, even on the street, when they met, Carolina turned away and walked past. She couldn't forgive Lorena for Lisa, and she hadn't spoken to her nephew even once. In the evening, when Barry was already asleep, the parents passionately made love. The sharpness of feelings may have dulled, but intimacy grew. They knew a lot about each other's bodies and used it to achieve the highest moments of pleasure. 3 years after the birth of their son, Lena became pregnant again. Jackie was overjoyed. He carried his wife on his hands, and together with their son, they listened to the baby kicking in her stomach. They agreed in advance that if it was a girl, they would name her Monica. During this pregnancy, Lorena walked around the village not hiding her belly and proudly showing off her condition. She greeted everyone, even if people walked on the other side of the street. Monica was born on the first day of autumn under the still warm, almost summer sun. Lorena's water broke, and contractions began right at work. She didn't quit working until the last moment. Jackie was in town, and the village paramedic assisted in the delivery right in the closed trading hall, escorting all customers out for the occasion. Later, the paramedic called an ambulance, and they took Lorena and Monica to the maternity hospital. They were discharged after 2 days, and Jackie greeted his women with a new car adorned with balloons. Where did this luxury come from? Lorena asked, seeing the red 7-seater Jeep. Well, I already have a big family. I bought a car that suits our family size. Jackie happily embraced his wife, holding the tiny daughter in one hand. Is our family already so big? Well, yes. I hope we won't stop here, and he passionately, almost like the first time, kissed his wife. In the beginning, there wasn't time for such conversations, but later Lena returned to the topic of the car. Jackie, you still haven't told me how much you spent on such a big Jeep. Did you take a loan? She was already getting upset in advance. They did not live a wealthy life, and now there was only her husband's salary, and taking a loan on top of that seemed reckless. Oh, come on, darling, can't we afford it? This car was brought to us as spare parts after an accident. We, with my colleagues, worked on it a bit in our free time, and here's the result. Isn't it a beauty? Beauty, agreed the wife, relieved. Barry finished second grade when Jackie came home and, seating Lorena on the couch, said, "We need to move to the city." In the village, they called the nearby town Alamo, which had supermarkets, transportation, and 3 passenger buses connecting neighboring villages and nearby areas, as well as factories producing textiles with special flower patterns known throughout the country. Many village residents dreamed of living in Alamo, but not many managed to settle there. Lena went there to give birth somewhere into the unknown after Liz's divorce, and there was an automotive enterprise. It offered Jackie a job with a good salary and a stable schedule. Lorena, I'm afraid to change your familiar place, transfer Barry to another school. Think about it, her husband warned. There's a daycare at the plant for Monica. You can go to work as you've wanted for a long time. But Barry has already settled into our small school, and there, it's a big city school. Nothing, he's a future man, he needs to get used to changes in life at not even 8 years old. You yourself at 8 years old already knew so much, and he can do it. And besides, Jackie winked conspiratorially, there's no garden and chickens there. That was the final argument in favor of moving. Of course, since Lorena got married, her mom hadn't woken her up at 5 a.m. for goat herding and gardening, but they sometimes went to help Grandma together, and the woman understood that neither the garden nor the birds made her desire to have her own farm. And where will we live? Lorena asked. My job provides us with a company 2-bedroom apartment, but we can sell this house and buy a bigger apartment there. Sell the house, the wife exclaimed. No, don't. Maybe give it to Mom. Her house is already very old, and sell that one. Besides, the grandchildren will have somewhere to go for vacations, not just sitting in the city. When the kids suggested to Olivia Wright to move into their place and sell the old house, she agreed to the first and categorically refused the second. No, there I have a garden, there are chickens. How will I transport the trees? I need that plot. Sell yours then, and I'll live in the old one. Then for now, we'll live in the company apartment, Lorena sighed. They moved Olivia Wright's things to Jackie's house. It was well equipped, unlike their native dwelling. Jackie had installed a boiler in it in recent years, arranged sewage, and there was even a satellite antenna. They then went to the city with all their belongings. Barry surprisingly easily adapted to the new school. It was too early to talk about his achievements, but he loved math and enjoyed doing hands-on activities. Lena was always proud when his crafts were exhibited on the school bulletin boards. Father's golden hands, she thought. At the automotive enterprise, her husband had his own daycare where Monica, who was not yet 4, went. Lorena was hired to work in the store on the company premises. Family income increased, but expenses grew with the growing children. In the winter, Olivia Wright suddenly passed away just crossing the threshold of 50. She wasn't sick, she simply didn't wake up one morning. Villagers, not seeing her in the morning, knocked on her window. By evening, there was no answer, and the door was open. They entered and found her lifeless body on the bed. The police found no signs of foul play. They called Lorena, and she came to Orlando. Oh, Mom, how can this be? Her daughter lamented, washing the body and preparing her mother for the funeral. Later, Jackie arrived with the children. After the funeral and memorial service, Lorena distributed her mom's things and gardening tools. She offered the neighbors to take the chickens. By that time, there were no goats left. Then Jackie repaired Olivia Wright's house, and they put it up for sale along with the plot on which the biggest wealth was pear and apple trees, beautifully blossoming and bearing plentiful fruit. Jackie closed his house and asked the neighbors to make sure no one trespassed during summer vacations. They would come there with the children, and in winter, Jackie spent time there during severe frosts or visited twice a week to check on the utilities. Once, Lena saw Lisa in town. She was walking with a bald, short man with a protruding belly. He held the hand of a girl about 8 years old, just like Barry. She traded Jackie for this man. Lorena wondered to herself. Well, love is indeed unpredictable, but I hope everything is good for her if they're strolling around town together. Lorena didn't mention this to her husband. Monica started school. It was her first school bell. She wore a green and blue checkered skirt and a blue vest over a white shirt. Here they had a uniform. Her long, wavy hair was divided by a straight part, and her mother tied 2 high pigtails on the sides. Lorena felt that among the first graders, her daughter was the smallest. At a school event, Barry led her by the hand. The parents followed them. Then the children split up. Barry took his sister to a group of kids with the sign 1B and went towards his classmates. Monica was bewildered. But the teacher called her closer and placed her in front with another little girl. Jackie hugged Lena by the shoulders. "It's time to have a third child," he whispered to his wife. She raised her eyes to him in surprise. "I like this moment," he justified himself. "And besides, we have good little ones. Let's have another one, what do you say?" Lorena laughed, and Jackie took it as consent. For years the city passed unnoticed, and in the 5th year, there was a change in ownership at the automotive enterprise where her husband worked. The well-established structure began to gradually fall apart. Lorena felt it at first when there were fewer customers in the store, salary delays occurred, and purchases became more meager. Then they closed the daycare. Lorena transferred her daughter to a regular kindergarten. Later, even the store closed. At a family council, Jackie and Lorena discussed what to do next. They didn't want to return to Orlando. They had already become accustomed to a comfortable life, amenities, and accessible infrastructure. But when the new management announced a phased eviction from the company apartments, Jackie said, "How about moving to the capital?" It was a city with a population of about 1 million people, located a couple of 100 kilometers from Alamo. And Lena had been there only once. "Are you out of your mind? How can we live there? People, cars, pipes," Lorena exclaimed. "But almost 1 million people live there, and I haven't heard them complaining. They are used to such a life. But you and I are villagers. And how do people become urban? They come from the village. So you and I will come, we'll even come in our cool car. Everything we have will fit there, and what doesn't fit, we'll sell in the city. We'll buy new things, but where will we work? Live? We need to prepare, but here, soon, we'll have neither work nor housing. That's why I brought up the topic, that it's time for us to look for something else. Well, more precisely, I'll look, and after the move, you'll find something." During the summer vac, Lorena and the children came to the village, and Jackie went to the city to look for a job. "Lorena, where's the husband?" passing villagers asked when she and the children walked in the yard. "He went to the city." "Really? What did he need there? A business trip?" Lorena lied without a hint of guilt, but in the village, rumors still circulated that Jackie had run away and got a second wife, while he himself escaped. It didn't take even a week for her husband to return. "Well, how?" Lorena asked. "All is well. I found a job," Jackie proudly said. "Specialists like me are needed everywhere." "Stop boasting, tell me," his wife said. "I arrived at the bus station. Well, I thought, where to go?" I approached the taxi drivers, explained the situation. "Maybe they need auto mechanics somewhere." They say we service cars ourselves. Auto parks have long been closed. You need to either go to an auto service or a bus park. Well, I went to the bus park, it was closer. I arrived, showed my credentials, told them what I could do, and they immediately grabbed me. They say, we'll give you a voucher for a free vacation and dormitory and a high salary and preferential mortgage for an apartment. I promised to think about it and went to other services. There are a lot of them there, and the salary there is several times higher, but apart from salary and more work, they don't offer anything else. In short, I returned to the bus park. I have 2 weeks to resign from my old job and move to the city. Wait, but we won't even have time to pack our things in 2 weeks, Lorena was surprised. And you don't need to, I said, they provide a dormitory. I'll live there for a while, look around, rent an apartment, and welcome to me, dear family. And what about school for the children? That's what I'll look into. Jackie quit his job, and all the things from the company apartment were brought back to the village. Lorena didn't even bother unpacking them. Anyway, later they would have to carry bags to the big city. The kids enjoyed their vacation. Barry played ball with the boys. Monica went to the river with her mom. Sometimes Lorena left her daughter under the watchful eye of her older brother and tidied up her mother's grave in the cemetery. After the first 2 weeks of work, Jackie came to Orlando at night. So, I found an apartment, Jackie said. Of course, the prices there are very high. I need the children's documents to enroll them in school. Lorena packed everything for him. This night with her husband was reminiscent of those first ones they had. Jackie missed his wife and Lena longed for his touch. They couldn't detach from each other for a long time, but at 5 in the morning, the husband got up and said, "It's time to go back." I hate this 5 in the morning, Lorena thought. She dressed and sent her husband off while the children were still asleep. The apartment Jackie rented was on the 5th floor of a multi-story building. It was a 3-room apartment, clean, but with very old furniture. The only appliance it had was an electric stove. Jackie got a washing machine, and he brought a kettle from his room in the dormitory. Since the move happened weeks before the start of the new school year, the whole family initially lived without unpacking their belongings, running to stores in search of necessary school supplies. Jackie provided Lena with a list of items the children needed. Barry easily agreed to all the purchases, while Monica was capricious. She only wanted a pink pencil case with cats and a pink backpack. At least the notebooks and books were standardized. The school uniform for the children was bought at a special store, the address of which was also given by the school. Finally, the children were equipped and sent off to school. The parents could attend to their own affairs. Since Jackie worked, most of the household chores naturally fell on Marina. She made arrangements with the apartment owner who showed her where the property management was, how to operate the ventilation, and where the electricity meters were for readings. They had just received the purchased washing machine, and little by little, the woman was getting used to life in the big city. After the move, the start of the school year, and all associated expenses, Jackie's substantial salary suddenly wasn't enough. After all, they also needed to pay rent. Lorena decided to look for a job for herself, even if it was part-time, to have time for Monica and help Barry. However, her son practically no longer needed his mother's help in the new school. Being his height, the physical education teachers suggested that the teenagers join the basketball section, and Barry ran for training after school. He did his homework at home in the evening when Lorena and sometimes his father were already home. But Monica had a hard time fitting into the new 5th grade. She didn't understand much, and Lorena had to work hard with her. Lorena didn't want her daughter to neglect any subjects, so they spent half a day together studying. Lorena saw a job advertisement for cleaners and dishwashers in the window of a restaurant and went inside. "I'm here about the ad," she pointed to the window. She was led to the office space behind the kitchen. There sat a woman older than Lena. She inquired about her previous work experience, where she came from, and said, "We need a medical certificate. You can get it yourself, or I can direct you, but it's a paid service." "I'll do it myself," Lena nodded. She didn't tell Jackie about her plan yet. The therapist who issued the referral for tests for employment upon learning that Lena hadn't seen a gynecologist for over 5 years shook her head. No, you can't do that. I'm giving you the referral, go and make an appointment. I won't issue the certificate without his conclusion. Lorena didn't object. With all the hassles, kids, and moving, she simply hadn't found time to visit a doctor. Now, she sat outside the doctor's office and feverishly remembered the first day of her last menstruation. This formulation always sounded from the gynecologist, and suddenly she realized it was at the beginning of summer, and September was coming to an end. Pregnant, flashed in her mind. It can't be. I would have felt it. It's almost 3 months. Then what? Sick? Early menopause? Pregnancy at 10 weeks, said the gynecologist. But to be sure, go for an ultrasound. Jackie, do you remember you once said we have good kids? Lorena asked her husband when he came home after a shift. What? Did Barry misbehave again? He worried. Why immediately him? If he misbehaved, it means he inherited some bad traits. Wait, I don't understand you. Jackie misbehaved you, and that's why I'm pregnant again? You're pregnant again? Really? How did you find out? I went to the doctor, Lena replied, omitting the job search. And what, all is well? It's 10 weeks. We were just in the village with the kids, and you came from here. Oh, I think I remember that night. Jackie rushed to hug his wife. I think I remember it too. She laughed happily when her husband again carried her to bed. And even though they knew each other for 15 years, their bodies merged into one, and they enjoyed each other as before. The doctor prescribed Lena a bunch of tests, including a genetic one. Why do I need a genetic test? The woman wondered, recalling the reasons for it during her first pregnancy. Well, you're an older mother, the doctor replied. The older the mother, the higher the likelihood of abnormalities such as Down syndrome. That's what we'll check. But I already have 2 children without any deviations. That doesn't mean anything. You want a healthy child, so you should take the test. For the first time in all her pregnancies, Lorena was under regular medical supervision. She was constantly sent for tests, underwent ultrasounds, and had her heartbeat checked. Everything was normal, including the genetic test. The ultrasound at 20 weeks showed a girl. Another daughter. Jack rejoiced. What should we name her? Isn't it too early to come up with a name? Now is the time. Let's agree now, and not like it happened with our son. Do you have any suggestions? Lorena asked. Let's name her Rebecca. I really like that name. Lena wasn't thrilled. No, it's kind of tasteless, and besides, Rebecca Thompson, it's alliteration. Maybe Sabrina? Sabrina? No, she'll be as silly as a goat. We had a goat named Sabrina, think about it, Jackie argued. Even Grandma Sabrina, remember? Well, yes, I agree. They spent a long time going through female names, even reaching the most exotic ones, when Jackie suddenly said, what about naming her Olivia, in honor of your mother? Olivia Thompson, sounds good. I like that name, Lorena agreed. By the end of the pregnancy, she already referred to her unborn daughter as Olivia, which suited both the little child and the name. Barry reacted to the news of having another sister as if he were an adult. Mom, is that normal? You're not exactly, well, not young anymore, Barry, his father shouted. What are you saying to your mother? No, I'm just saying that there might be complications, son. Everything is fine. I regularly visit the doctor, and he reassured me, saying that the baby is developing without pathologies according to my age. Well, that's great, Barry smiled. It's just a pity that when she goes to school, I won't be able to walk her there, holding her hand. Why not? Well, I'll already have graduated from school by then. I only have 3 years left here. Well, you can still walk her there, as the older brother. I want to walk her hand in hand too, Monica joined the conversation. After all, we all have 2 hands. Barry will go on the right, and Monica on the left, their father reassured them. You're deciding about her school too early, Lorena laughed. She'll be born in the spring. Before moving to the big city, Barry planned to finish 9 grades and follow in his father's footsteps by going to college to become an auto mechanic. But it turned out that he was very, very good at playing basketball. He was accepted into the city's youth team, transferred to the sports class midway through the year, and persuaded to stay in school for another 2 years. Well, his father pondered. You can always go to college, and if you like basketball, play while you have the opportunity. With Lorena's 3rd pregnancy, the family's expenses increased even more. Items and strollers from the older children had already been discarded, and new ones were expensive. And the rented apartment turned out to be small right away. Barry in one room, and we with the little one in another, and Monica on the couch in the living room. Is that how it will be? Lorena asked her husband. They moved the children to a corner room that used to be the living room. It was cooler there, but there were 2 windows. Jackie set up a partition, creating 2 rooms, one for Barry and one for Monica. On their entrances, Lorena hung heavy curtains so that the brother and sister wouldn't distract each other during studies and rest. The parents themselves moved to the room next to the kitchen. Jackie wisely decided that it would be easier with the little one if they didn't run across the entire apartment for bottles and water. The 3rd room served as a living room for the time being, and in the future, it was planned that the girls would live there. During the last ultrasound, the doctor suddenly frowned and scrutinized the image on the monitor more carefully than usual. Have you fallen? She asked Lorena. Did you lean too much? Maybe you jumped from somewhere? Where would I jump with this belly? The woman wondered. Your daughter turned upside down in the womb. She has a breech presentation. Now, considering that you are already in the last weeks of pregnancy, I recommend that you have a cesarean. Is it dangerous? No, it's a routine operation. I meant the breech presentation. Oh, that's dangerous if you try to give birth naturally and the baby comes out feet first. Birth injuries are not excluded. Then, of course, let's go with the operation. For that, you'll need to take a few more tests. The doctor will set a date, and a week before it, you'll be admitted to the hospital. Lorena shared the news with Jackie. He became concerned. Are you sure everything is okay with our daughter? Maybe they're not telling you something. The doctor was calm. She just explained that this way there would be fewer injuries to the baby and to me. And then you'll be able to have more children, Jackie. I'm 36. Maybe it's time to stop, don't you think? 3 is enough. No, 3 is good. And what if we have a 4th, a boy? Well, if it happens, then we'll decide. Lorena diverted the conversation. Towards the end of the pregnancy, they couldn't be close to each other, and apparently due to this, or rather from being pregnant, the woman became irritable. After all, intimacy with her husband always calmed her, and now Lena was deprived of that. The auto repair shop was located directly on the park grounds. Jackie immediately blended into the team, showcasing himself as a skilled worker and an amiable guy. They, along with the crew, went to lunch and breaks together, helping each other with advice and physical strength when needed. There was also a cafeteria for the workers on the premises. That's where Jackie first saw her, a slender girl with a tall chest and big green eyes. She sat with the dispatchers at one table, laughing melodiously as if ringing like a bell. He wasn't acquainted with her, but now, every time he entered the cafeteria, he discreetly watched the green-eyed beauty, somehow casually. So as not to arouse suspicion, he asked his colleagues without turning around, "Whose laughter is that?" "That's Rebecca," the dispatcher said. "When she comes to work, it's like the sun rises in the auto park." "I see," nodded Jackie, and continued with his lunch. In his mind, he repeated her name. Once they left together with the security guard after the work shift, "Need a ride?" he asked the girl and introduced himself. "I'm Jackie. I'm an auto mechanic in the second crew." "I know," she smiled at him. "Rebecca, I know," he teased her. "Where do you need to go?" To 7th Street. Get in, I'll give you a ride. He opened the door of his Jeep for the girl, even though her destination was in the opposite direction. They drove almost across the entire city. Rebecca, how long have you been working in the auto park? Jackie asked. 3 years, and not planning to leave anywhere. Why should I? Good pay, social benefits, shift work. There's time for myself and for entertainment. How do you like to have fun? I like movies, bowling, and I enjoy walking. Do you go alone or with friends? Mostly with girlfriends, she smiled, but I like to walk alone, especially when no one interferes with thinking. Do you live with your parents, or maybe with a husband? Jackie was surprised by his boldness, but Rebecca seemed not to notice anything. I'm not married. My parents live in another city, and I'm here. I'm actually an adult and independent. I see, the man smiled. Here, please, she showed him the entrance to the yard. Since then, Jackie always offered a ride to the beautiful dispatcher whenever their shifts coincided. Knowing that Lena was pregnant, Jackie was very happy because he loved children. Up to 5 years old, children were curious and joyfully explored the world, and he felt like a guru. And he simply loved cartoons. Watching them with children was fun and interesting. And when children grew older, serious conversations became possible. On this occasion, Rebecca was returning from work with heavy bags. Jackie offered to carry them to her apartment. When the girl opened the door, he walked into the kitchen. The scent of women's perfume and fresh laundry hit his nose. He put down the bags, and then, unexpectedly for himself, embraced the beauty. She wrapped her arms around his neck and led him into the bedroom. Jackie, longing for an unfamiliar young female body, loved Rebecca slowly, fearing to accelerate the process too much, not having time to enjoy it. She surrendered to him with closed eyes, biting her lips and scratching his back. Later, they lay contentedly on the bed, caressing each other. At last, a real man, Rebecca said. Weren't the others real before? Her partner was surprised. Before, there were young wimps who couldn't do anything, unlike you. And how old are you? Jackie asked. 25 years, the girl replied. Oh my God, he closed his eyes. I'm almost 20 years older than you. I've always liked older men, Rebecca laughed with her melodious laughter. Jackie returned home late. Did work keep you busy again? Lorena asked. Yes, mumbled Jackie, and rushed into the shower to wash off the scent of another woman. You're happy that we'll have another girl, smiled his wife when he came out. Of course, Jackie smiled. I'm also glad that we'll name her Olivia, not Rebecca. And before Jackie's eyes, the image of the green-eyed beauty with whom he had just been emerged. He remembered that he argued for a long time with his wife about the name of their daughter, but in the end, they decided to name her Olivia after Lorena's mother. As the birth of their daughter approached, Jackie stayed with Rebecca more often. She never asked him for anything. She was always happy when he came, but she never bothered him with calls or pursuit when he was busy with household chores, rearranging the house, or going to Barry's competitions. She's the ideal woman, Jackie thought. She asks for nothing and gives herself completely. Where were you before, my beauty? He never thought about the fact that when he remarried, Rebecca was still a little child. With her, he felt as if he were 30 again, full of desire, passion, and energy for long evenings. Jackie didn't think about his family during these moments. He was with a beautiful lover. He passionately wished for her to have a child for him too. However, the girl seemed to be using contraception, as she never talked to him about family or children. Lorena was admitted to the maternity hospital before the surgery. Jackie had to take time off work and stay with Monica. Barry was already a mature guy, but sometimes he needed fatherly advice. Dad, how did you meet Mom? He asked one evening while Jackie was perfecting the crib for the baby girl. Well, she worked in a store, and I happened to go in there after my shift, saw her, and fell in love immediately. Then we got married, and you came along. The father didn't tell Barry the correct sequence of events to avoid unnecessary questions. Did you know right away that you were in love? Of course, right away. Why do you ask? Just curious. Is it so interesting to you? Monica's voice came from behind the curtain. He just fell in love with Teresa from the women's team. Now he's figuring out how to approach her. And couldn't you keep it to yourself? Her brother retorted. Hey, kids, stop it. No need to quarrel. You're siblings, you should stick together. Come on, son, tell us what's on your mind. Okay, everything's fine, Barry sighed. Her name is Teresa, she's on the women's team, as Monica said. I like her. How do I become friends with her? Firstly, show that you're interested in her, Jackie began. Ask what she likes besides basketball. Maybe take her to a movie, or vice versa. Maybe she's having trouble with a chemistry lesson, for example, and you're good at it. Offer to help, and don't be shy to start a conversation. Maybe that's what she's waiting for. Dad, his daughter interjected into the male conversation. Mom said you have a sister. Why don't we know about her? It's a long story, Jackie sighed. She's upset with me, probably. There was a reason. In general, she doesn't want to communicate with me. What's her name? Carolina. And where is she now? She used to be in Orlando. I don't know where she is now. Does she know where you are? Doubtful, hardly. Do you just not talk to each other? Maybe we can go find her this summer, Barry suggested. Maybe. Well, let's go to bed already. 2 years had passed since Olivia's birth, and Jackie lived in 2 households with the children and Lena. He was an exemplary head of the family. He bought gifts, took Monica to events, went to competitions with his son. Barry finished 11th grade and planned to go to the Sports Technical College to continue playing basketball. His parents supported this decision. Monica danced in a folk dance ensemble and enjoyed it. I feel like a queen in these costumes, she would say. However, she neglected her studies, which greatly upset Lena. Olivia was growing up, and her parents were looking for daycare for her. Meanwhile, Jackie was immersed in caring for himself with Rebecca. She gave herself entirely to him, cooked his favorite dishes, just without honey. He told her, I'm allergic, but even without honey, life with Rebecca seemed sweeter than any dream. She knew about the birth of his youngest daughter, but never made him choose between her and the family, for which Jackie was endlessly grateful to her. At work, they knew about this affair for a long time, but tactfully kept silent, though sometimes shaking their heads disapprovingly. Rebecca, why don't we have a child together? Maybe we'll have a son, Jackie once asked his lover. Don't you have enough with 3? She chimed in with her voice. If we have a child, I won't be able to give you as much attention as I want. I'll become fat and ugly, you'll stop loving me right away. No, we'll have a little boy. You already have a son and daughters. Why do you keep running away from your wife to me? You'll keep running away from me too. And besides, I'm still young. Maybe later, but I'm not getting any younger, he thought sadly. Intimacy with Lena after Olivia's birth was almost non-existent. His wife sometimes tried to cuddle up to him, to caress him, but Jackie increasingly referred to his health. He no longer wanted the loose body of an almost 40-year-old woman when he had the firmness and beauty of Rebecca at his disposal. The landlord called Jackie. I'm going to sell the apartment. You have 6 months to find another housing option. This news shocked Lena. They had gotten so used to considering the apartment as theirs, and now they had to figure out housing again. We need to sell the house, Jackie decided firmly. The summer vacation is ahead, let's go fix it up and sell it. But we won't have enough money for an apartment, Lorena objected. Not for an apartment, but enough for a down payment. Let's take out a loan then. I'll go to work too. Any additional income will help. Let's first deal with the apartment, and then we'll talk about your job. Jackie was horrified at the thought of all the troubles of selling the house and then arranging a loan to buy an apartment. But everything turned out to be much simpler. The owner, upon learning that they were planning to buy a house on credit, offered to buy his apartment at a reasonable price. I know you're decent people, and you've already made the apartment your own. If the bank approves the loan for you, I won't object and will conclude a deal with you on the first day of summer vacation. The whole family except for Barry went to Orlando. Their son stayed for competitions and planned to join them later. Dad, do you remember we wanted to find your sister? Monica asked Jackie. When did you want to do that? Lorena was surprised. Well, when you were giving birth to Olivia, Dad and I agreed. It's been 2 years already, and we still haven't done it. Well, let's find her, her mother agreed, although what are we looking for her for? Probably she still lives in the parental home. While Lena sorted things in the house into what needed to be kept and what needed to be given away, Jackie visited his parents' home. His wife turned out to be right. Carolina still lived there, and not alone. Carolina, he knocked on the window and said louder, Carolina. The door swung open. His sister stood on the doorstep, slightly drunk. Oh my, who do we have here? She clapped her hands. Lissa, come out. Look, your ex-husband has graced us with his presence. From inside, Lissa appeared, aged and worn. Oh, Jackie, hello. What brings you here? What do you mean, what brings me? This is, in fact, our ancestral home. By the way, what are you doing here? Come in, dear friend, don't stand on the doorstep. We'll sit at the table, have some wine, and talk. His sister stepped aside, letting Jackie in. He doesn't drink wine, Lissa abruptly interrupted her friend. It makes him angry. I don't drink, Jackie agreed, but I'll come in. The room smelled musty with a hint of stale bread. Jackie remembered Rebecca's apartment and gestured, Don't you ever clean here, ladies? We do clean, Carolina said sadly, but the house is almost 100 years old. You can't scrape off all the dirt. Why did you come? My kids asked me to find their aunt. They say it's not good when a brother and sister don't talk for years. Are they so smart? Is it from Lorena? In her, for sure. I grew up with you, so we weren't exactly geniuses from birth, but you caught someone's attention, Lissa interjected. How are you living, Jackie? I'm living fine, he replied. We came with the family, planning to sell the house. Why is that? We want to buy an apartment in the city. No, in the city center. You've gone far. And for how long? About 5 years. Years? And where have you been living all this time? We rented an apartment. Now we want to buy. And what about the kids? The kids are fine. My son is currently at a competition. Lorena and the daughters are here. You had only one daughter, and now we have 2. Well, you always loved the female body, Lissa interjected. Where's your child, Lissa? Chloe? She's with her father, the one with the mother from the village who doesn't want to communicate, Lissa replied. He acknowledged her fully acknowledged. I have no other way. Why are you here then, in this old hut, instead of a royal apartment? It's more fun with Carolina here, right? She turned to her friend, and together they started singing a drunken song. Well, ladies, stay. I'll go. Carolina, when you're sober, come by. I'll introduce you to your nieces and nephews. Why don't you invite me? Lissa asked. Will you come? No, that's why I'm not inviting you. While Jackie went to Alamo to meet his son and send some packages, Carolina came to Lorena. Hello, dear. Will you let me in? Come in, Carolina. Hello. Oh, how important you've become. Do you live well? Yes, no complaints. Meet Monica, your uncle's eldest niece. Monica, this is your father's sister. The girl looked at the guest with interest. And this is Olivia, our youngest daughter. Lorena pointed to the baby crawling on the floor, named after her mother. That's good, Carolina said. And where's the elder son? Jackie went to Alamo for Barry. He'll meet him and bring him back. Then tell him I stopped by. I met my nieces and let him know I hold no grudge, neither against him nor against you. Is that true? Of course. Otherwise, you'll sell the house and we'll disappear. Drop by occasionally, both alone and all together. Thank you, Carolina. Maybe you'll stay for a while, have a cup of tea? Just for a short while, or else Lissa is waiting for me in the house, recovering from yesterday. Lissa, how is she? Carolina sat down and took a sip from the cup of tea Lena brought. Well, she's okay now. She divorced her lover and married herself. Back then, I always knew she was a witch, but it didn't bring her happiness. He provided for her, and she started drinking out of idol. Then he took Chloe away from her, and he moved Chloe, her daughter, Chloe. Well, she felt true freedom after that, almost became an alcoholic. Then she crawled to me, all in tears, without a husband, without a daughter. So now we live together. But at least she seems to have become more human. Carolina, you're the kind of friend one needs. Don't abandon her. Where would I throw her now? She'll be with me. But don't forget about us either, okay? She said as she got up and walked out the gate. Monica watched her go, then turned to her mother and hugged her neck. I'm glad Aunt Carolina was found. I am too, dear. I am too. After returning from Orlando, Olivia started attending daycare, and Lena resumed her job search. Jackie would disappear at the car park, Barry would be at competitions, and Monica would be at concerts. The family rarely gathered together. Not far from Jackie's workplace, a restaurant opened, and Lorena, after passing a medical examination, got a job as a dishwasher there. She didn't tell her husband where and as what she was working to avoid embarrassing him in front of his colleagues. Since the dishwashing area was in the back of the kitchen, no one saw Lena except the staff. There was a glass part of the kitchen wall facing the dining area so that customers could see the conditions in which the dishes were prepared. Lorena would occasionally walk by and see people sitting at tables awaiting their orders. Waiters moved around the hall. The restaurant quickly gained popularity, and on weekends, there would even be a line. The staff had their separate entrance and restroom, so they didn't interact with the guests. Near the service restroom, there was a thin partition instead of a wall with a space for visitors who smoked, and a shared ventilation. When Lena entered there, she could hear everything said in the smoking area. He still hasn't given me the bonus. My son skipped the last class, and I was called to school. He has a wife, 3 kids, and he goes to restaurants and banquets with his mistress. What a scoundrel, thought Lena as she returned to her workplace. Lena did her job and took the last bus home. The bus drivers already knew her and greeted her at the entrance. Lorena wasn't worried, her husband drove a car, and colleagues weren't familiar with her. Usually, she picked up Olivia from daycare and left her at home with either Monica or Barry, depending on who was home. Then she commuted to work where the evenings saw the most significant influx of customers. When she couldn't leave Olivia with anyone, she took her along. There was a small children's room in the restaurant. In the evenings, there were usually no children, and the little girl played with toys on her own. Of course, Lena and her colleagues occasionally checked on her, so the girl was always supervised. After Lena started receiving a salary, it became easier for her to plan the overall budget. Expenses like medication or sanitary products, which she needed alone, could now be covered from her discretionary funds. Jackie hadn't noticed yet, and he didn't ask questions. He wasn't very attentive to details, unlike Lena. Unlike Lena, who noticed a familiar jacket on the rack in the dining area and went to see if Jackie came to have dinner with a colleague. Jackie sat at a table with a girl half his age, holding her hand and saying something. Lorena vividly remembered that look from the storeroom of her former store. Her heart pounded furiously. So that's why he's not home in the evenings. He's so exhausted at work that he doesn't touch me. Of course, after 3 kids, I can't look like that girl after the birth of his children, by the way. And they seem to have known each other for a long time. They sit and calmly talk to each other, not suspecting anything. Should I make a scene, pour ketchup on him, tear this beauty's hair out? But I could lose my job, and I'll need it soon. Mr. Murphy, Lorena quietly called. The chef's assistant turned to her. What's up, Lorena? He asked. What's today's dish from the chef? Slaves in Greek. Oh, delicious. Can you order it over there for that couple, on my tab? Of course, Lorena, no problem, he replied, and set to work on the fish. Jackie whispered meaningless words to Rebecca. They agreed to have dinner here after their shifts and then, as tradition dictated, go to her apartment to satisfy their growing desire. Once again, at that moment, the waiter placed a dish in front of them. What is this? The chef's dish, as you ordered. But I didn't order anything. Yes, I must have made a mistake. The waiter reached for the plate, intending to take it away. Wait, the girl stopped him. What dish is this? It's Greek-style fish, pan-fried fillet with lightly salted cucumbers and tomatoes, baked in chicken broth with herbs. Sounds delicious. Leave it, Jackie. I love fish, and you can order something else for yourself. Why bother? I'll take the same dish. Bring another portion, please, she said. The waiter went to the kitchen. Rebecca tasted the fish. Oh, this dish turned out so tender. I really like it. We should give this waiter a little extra tip since he made such a delightful mistake. Do you really like it? Jackie asked. Very much. Try it. The girl offered him a fork with a piece of fish. I never thought he would eat from her hands, Lorena thought, as she observed them. At that moment, the waiter brought the second dish to the table. Jackie looked at Rebecca. She was enjoying her meal, washing it down with lemonade. He also picked up his utensils and began to eat. After the bite Rebecca gave him to taste, Jackie felt some discomfort, but he attributed it to the unusual taste of the fish. However, as there was less than a third of the portion left on the plate, he suddenly put down his fork and started to hiccup loudly. He thought he might have been so hungry that he swallowed some air, but the hiccups intensified. Water didn't help. Suddenly, things started to blur in his vision, and Rebecca's wavy hair increased. He found it amusing. He burst into laughter, mixing it with hiccups and grabbing the companion's hair with his fingers. Then he jumped up from his seat and started to kiss her with indecent gestures. The whole room was watching him. The girl felt uncomfortable. She began to push him away and calm him down. Jackie, what's wrong with you? Wait, Jackie, stop here. Drink some water. The hiccups will stop. Rebecca, we've been together for 3 years and everything is fine with you. He began to shout loudly, thinking he was singing, I love you, we share a bed. We just haven't managed to have children. Look how I can compose poetry all for you, my love. The girl covered her face with her hands. Can I help you? The manager approached the table. Yes, please, she whispered. I think my companion has gone crazy. I can leave without him, only if you pay the bill. He probably can't do it himself. Rebecca agreed. The manager, trying to fend off Jackie, accompanied the girl and took her payment. Jackie ran after them, trying to take off Rebecca's coat, blocking the exit, and not letting her leave the restaurant. The staff had to call the police. The recipe for this dish included honey and dry white wine. Lorena knew that her husband started to hiccup loudly and continuously from honey. It could last for several hours, but then it would stop. However, Jackie didn't drink wine. He said it made him feel strange and angry. Lena now saw exactly how strange and angry he could get. She could barely hold back her laughter. Jackie didn't come home at night, but in the morning, he called and asked to be picked up from the police station. Lorena packed his things, threw in a toothbrush and a razor, and went to the police station. When they came out onto the street, she handed him the bag. What's this? He exclaimed. Claim your things, get lost. Lorena, what are you doing? I spent the night at the police station, and now you're kicking me out, and how did you end up there? I got into a little trouble at work. No, then where? Well, why are you silent? Should I ask the police about it? In the restaurant, Jackie replied. And what were you doing there? My colleague and I were celebrating his birthday. Jackie's imagination was running wild. Is that the colleague with long wavy hair and green eyes, wearing a dark blue dress? Jackie widened his eyes. How do you know her? I work there, in that restaurant. I didn't want to tell you to avoid embarrassing you in front of colleagues. So you've just made a fool of yourself. In short, here are your things, get lost. Lorena turned around and headed towards the public transportation stop. Rebecca opened the door but didn't let him in. Rebecca, what are you doing? I came to you with my things. Jackie tossed the bag next to him. But I didn't ask you to come with things, Rebecca coldly replied. Everything was fine with me while we were dating, but with things, I'll find someone younger for myself. Rebecca, my reaction to wine is like that. I can't control myself. I should have warned you immediately. You're an idiot in life, even without any wine, and you portrayed me in such a light. Now I'll have to quit my job and look for another one. You've ruined my reputation. Our romance with you is over. Thanks for everything. The girl slammed the door in front of him. Lorena was interrupted from cooking by a persistent doorbell. Well, who else could it be, she thought, wiping her hands on her apron. She had kicked Jackie out 2 weeks ago, instructing him not to show up near the house, not to disgrace her and the children. After that, her husband disappeared. Where he was, the woman didn't know. Carolina stood at the doorstep. Hello, dear, how are you? Carolina, hello. How have you been? I just decided to see how you're in, Carolina said, taking off her shoes and walking through the rooms. It's not a castle, of course, not a house, but you can live. Hello, Monica, Lorena greeted her daughter. Hello, Aunt Carolina, the older daughter came out of the room to greet the guest. Are you here for long, Carolina? Lorena asked. Why are you kicking me out already? No, just thinking about planning our time and where to accommodate you. But nothing needs to be planned. Where's my brother? I don't know, I kicked him out, he's wandering somewhere. That's how it is, kicked him out, and for what? Why do women kick men out? Well, your face looks fine, so he didn't hit you. Carolina looked at her attentively. Did he cheat on you? He did, the scoundrel. He cheated for 3 years, even before Olivia was born. I exposed him, and then I kicked him out. Well, if your face is intact, he must not have hit you, Carolina smiled. Did he cheat on you? He did, the scoundrel. He cheated for 3 years, even before Olivia was born. I exposed him, and then I kicked him out. I see Lissa sent me here for a reason, she said. Go, there's trouble in their house and he's your brother, maybe you can help. Lissa, how does she know everything? I'm telling you, she's a witch. Carolina widened her eyes, then burst into laughter. What kind of help do you need? What help can you offer here, Carolina? Lena poured herself and her guest a shot of brandy. Let's drink to your arrival, welcome. Thank you, Lorena. Cheers to the toast and the family you've given me back. But I'll still look for my brother. Will you give me his work address? Of course, here you go. Lorena handed a piece of paper with the address to Carolina. Well then, I'll go. I'll be back in the evening. We'll have tea, agreed, Mom. Barry called to Lorena. Can I bring someone else for dinner? Of course, son. Both of you come, she replied happily. Actually, there will be 4 of us. Are you bringing the whole team? Almost. Well, come together. Just buy some bread on the way. I won't have enough for everyone. Lorena knew that her son had a girlfriend, Teresa. He occasionally stayed overnight at her place. She hoped that they would all meet soon, but when Barry said they would come together, she realized that it was probably the guys from the team and feverishly thought about what to feed a group of towering young men after training. She had to make pastry for pies. Olivia played nearby. Monica came to help. At 8 p.m., the doorbell rang. Lorena opened it. At the doorstep stood a tall girl, and with her was Barry. "Mom, meet Teresa. I've told you about her." "Nice to meet you, Teresa. You can call me Lena, and I've heard a lot about you." "Lena, son, where are your friends?" "Here they are," he replied, and from around the corner came Jackie with Carolina. "Mom, meet my father, Jackie, and his sister, Carolina." "Just call me Carolina," the woman smiled. "I found him," said Lorena. "Well, I didn't just come here for nothing," Carolina said. Out of the kitchen came Monica. "Dad, where were you when you left me hanging?" At the sight of her husband, Lorena's hands dropped, and her heart started pounding faster. "Jackie lived with me lately," Teresa suddenly said. "Mom, you left him on the street, but he's our father, a good father," her son defended him. "Good," Lena agreed. "A wayward husband, but a wonderful father. So, can he stay with us for a bit, and I'll leave tomorrow, I promise," Carolina intervened in the conversation. "Oh, Carolina, it would be better the other way around, you stay, and he leaves tomorrow," Lorena said. "I won't stay long," her husband added. 30 or 40 years, that's it," the children burst into laughter. "Well, only for 30 to 40 years, Lena smiled and warned, "but be careful, I'll keep track every day and every night." Her husband rushed towards her, trying to hug. Well, Lorena stepped aside. "It's too early for hugs. Let's go to the table, we'll have tea." At the table, Carolina talked about life in the village, how Lissa started working in the village shop again, and how her father came to visit with his daughter, and it seemed like their relationship had improved. "And where do they live?" Jackie asked. "For now, with me, but they plan to build a house nearby." "He bought your mother's plot," she told Lena. "Mom's plot?" "Yes, that very plot." In the early hours of the night, Barry and Teresa left. The hostess settled Carolina in her son's room, and Monica, along with Olivia, went to their room. Lorena lay on the bed, listening to Jackie's steady breathing. She had refused to accept him on the sofa, placing him nearby on the floor. He was asleep, but she couldn't sleep. She inhaled the scent of her beloved man, remembered the night spent with him, felt his lips on her body, and suddenly she realized that she was asleep, and Jackie lay next to her, kissing her. "Jackie," she whispered to avoid waking anyone in the apartment. "What are you doing here?" "Well, we agreed to keep track of each night," he whispered back. "Can we start now? This is the first one." Thank you for joining us today on Deep Stories. Be sure to like and subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on our next video.